Are you crying? Are you crying?
Can I borrow $5?
Life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
How about some coffee or, drinks or dinner or a movie? For as long as we both shall live.
We have 10 hours till the deadline, so we dig in.
This can't be this. The fleur-de-lis.
The truth is, I knew it was you. Now, maybe I didn't get the cuffs on you, but I knew.
You said this was just business. Is this business? Is this how you do business?
That man gets up on that stage tonight.
You are a toy!
Sorry I had a fight in the middle of your Black Panther party.
Don't you dare let that little red dog piss on my walkway again.
We always go in with our ideals and we change the world. And then we leave.
What am I going to say? That it was my job.
The social death which precedes the actual physical one.
I just know that every man I kill, the farther away from home I feel.
She looks like my third grade teacher. I hated my third grade teacher. Wait a minute. She is my third grade teacher.
This is the Polar Express.
I'm David Pumpkins.
I'm Rick Martin.
Oh, Walt. You're good to call me Walt. Mr. Dizzy was my old man, isn't that right, Don?
It may not be Miller time, but it is vanilla time.
Shimmy, shimmy, cocoa bud, shimmy, shimmy, rock. I met a girlfriend, a Trisket. She said a Trisket, a biscuit.
All right, kudos on the Love Boat, Ari. There's not a lot of folks are going to dig up that clip, but I did the Love Boat in June of 1980.
The whole team put it together. Are you ready for the question?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, what's the question?
Are you skilled at bringing these iconic roles to life, or are you really good at picking iconic roles?
Either one of those would be a type of qualitative thinking that I think is the antithesis of following one's instincts. I am only interested in what all those guys are going through. There's plenty of opportunity. Look, a lot of people want me to be in their movies, which I'd like to be able to.
Seems that way.
Do enough of it. But I think I figured out a long time ago that the hardest thing to say in the business, if you actually are like weighing, what are you going to do? What is it going to do? Is saying no to something. That's the hard. It's easy to say. It's easy to say yes. And you might have the inclination to say yes a lot because, you're bored, you're going to get to go somewhere, you're going to work with people that you want to. They're going to pay a nice chunk of change. But if there is this other aspect of it, I don't have an instinctive drive to this. I'm not afraid of what this material is. I don't have any questions about where we're going to go. It's all pretty much right there. It's hard to say no. And I think if I'm going to lay claim to any kind of clairvoyance on it, it's just that a no has to be no, and that could be confounding sometimes.
There's no single through line there.
I'd hope not.
But there is a returning decency in these characters, whether that's how they are on the page or what you bring out of them, that clearly, go ahead.
I would say that what is reflected in it is a lack of cynicism. I think the default place of an awful lot of commerce and no small amount of art and kind of like enterprise and the cultural exchange is based on cynicism. Oh, come on. Oh, there must be something else to it. You can't really mean that. That's just an image. Oh, do you actually? Come on, that's goody two shoes.
He was just going to die for his country. Who buys that?
Oh, you don't really actually think you're going to make it across the country without breaking? Where did you break it? Where were you scared? And that's not me, and it never has been me. I don't wake up with I got to get to the bottom of this. I don't wake up that way. And I think those characters they are not optimists. I won't put them that way. They're not easy pushovers, but they are not cynics. They do not appreciate, they don't say, that's not going to work out. Because my life has always been, well, let's see what happens. You know, I moved around a lot as a kid. I did not think, oh no, I'm leaving my home. Just the opposite. I said, great, let's try something else. That's the way I felt. And I don't think I've ever volunteered to be part of an enterprise without thinking, I don't know how this is going to go out, but I know how I want to approach this.
I want to go to what could be called your socially conscious, historical, or some people would call them political roles. Although there's this thing where if it's a big enough blockbuster, it's no longer a political movie, right?
Yeah,
which is funny.
Yeah.
But you put your shoulder into it, and things have evolved. But at the time, many of these were considered bold choices, or not always obvious career choices, although in hindsight they might look different. So given that you are on the news, let's look at some of those types of political-themed movies.
Okay.
Politicians and the press, they trusted each other so they could go to the same dinner party and drink cocktails and tell jokes while there was a war raging in Vietnam.
I don't know what we're talking about.
John Coffey, you have been condemned to die in the electric chair by a jury of your peers, sentence imposed by a judge in good standing in this state.
Wouldn't you be more comfortable in a research room?
No. Would it make you more comfortable? Let's spend $1 million on HR 118 and rebuild the school.
Charlie, nobody gives a about a school in Pakistan.
Afghanistan.
Now, I think those are about process, like what, particularly in the Green Mile, the specifics of that. What goes into executing a prison? What's the routine? What's the process there? What are all the protocols? What are the things that absolutely have to happen? The reality of, being in public and AIDS during that period of time, many people were very uncomfortable being in the room with somebody who had AIDS. Just take a look at Larry Kramer on the Phil Donahue show, in which, there were cameramen that would not show up to work that day because they didn't want to be in the same room with a homosexual that had AIDS. That's the nature of what the fear was. Those are not, I don't view them really as being, they weren't political choices behind them, other than truthful exposés of how people are getting on at that one individual moment.
Can I push you on that?
Sure.
I understand what you're saying because it's channeling something real. But several of those films, especially when we look at how many times you've taken whatever you want to call it, the Tom Hanks of it, or what some people call the star power, you've put it to help us understand that character who was marginalized at that time, or the lawyer who's being attacked because he is representing the unpopular accused. We were just talking about that walking in. Are those not, in some sense, also values choices, if not political?
I will say that they only are political choices in that, let's be transparent about what this is. There's not an editorial bent on trying to change anybody's mind. There's no saying, you're wrong and I'm right, and you better figure that out. Actually, trying to take the passion out of it and making a dispassionate examination of what it is. If you've been fired from a job for one reason and one reason only, that you have AIDS, is that a right or a wrong thing to do? That's it. So let's discuss whether that is right and what is wrong. All of the other types of stuff that go on, like, for example, I mean, even on Captain Phillips, the reality is there's all these kind of like economic factors that go into the reasons that guys from Somalia are willing to go off and kill people and try to take over the boats because they're starving to death. Now, right, wrong, no. Let's just understand that this is the confines in which we are all trying to get by.
Yeah, but does that empathy itself involve some worldview?
Yes, it does, which is essentially kind of like what Spike Lee did with me. Hey, always do the right thing. What's the right thing? We have to get down to sooner or later, all of this thing comes down to essentially an individual experience. That what are the rights and expectations that individual have for the right thing to happen to them, and the expectations of him to do the right thing as well? Aren't we all trying here to somehow create a more perfect union?
What made you want to go from bringing fiction to life on screen to writing it yourself?
Well, I don't think there's anything more fascinating than talking to somebody, asking them this question. How'd you get here? What did you do? What brought you to do this for a living? And do you still have the same passion for it now as you did when you began the journey? That is an awful lot of the conversation that goes on in the course of the long downtime of making a film, and it is the best. I think it's the best, most rewarding part of being a human being on a film set. You talk to an awful lot of people. You hear their stories. And they become something other than co-workers. They become some kind of friends or, in some cases, role models. And I had never read a fictionalized version of the making of a movie that matched my own experience. And when the time came to think, I felt as though as a writer, I wanted to write a novel. The question is, well, what would it be? And the challenge I laid out for it was, if the reader has some understanding of just how nearly impossible it is to get a movie made, then I would have succeeded with my endeavors.
Tom Hanks, thank you so much. The debut novel is the making of another motion picture masterpiece. It's excellent. It's out now.
Thank you, Ari.
Fun to spend time with Tom Hanks. Next on this EGOT edition of The Beat, we turn to Lin-Manuel Miranda and his political theater, and later Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh. And finally, when we get there, I promise it's worth it, the one and only Erykah Badu, also tonight on our holiday show.
Each week on my podcast, I'm joined by uniquely qualified guests who help me take a big picture look at the issues, like Representative Jasmine Crockett, late night host Seth Meyers, former Attorney General Eric Holder, and many more. Why is this happening? Listen now.
My favorite babysitter is Annalisa. She's pretty good. She's like my grandma. She says, "Hola, ¿cómo estás?" She plays with me. She helps you feel better. Bugs and insects are healthy for you. Amelia took us to the beach. She teaches me some gymnastics. We like color. We draw flowers, and then we go skateboarding.
From babysitters to nannies to daycare centers, find all the care you need at care.com.
For most people, the afternoon crash is real, but not for you. Not today, sir. Wake up to a new way to break through that 2 p.m. wall. Start your morning with AG1, the daily health drink for foundational nutrition and gut health.
Get the latest updates on future MSNBC live events, thought-provoking conversations, and insider perspectives while building your MSNBC community. Scan the QR code on your screen to sign up today.
The holidays just got merrier and brighter.
It's been everything you'd expect and hope for.
Feast your eyes on our favourite time of the year with gifts galore, magical moments, and holiday cheers.
Snappy and certain, right on the line!
Premier League festive fixtures on NBC and Peacock.
First and foremost, we always want to be consumer-centric. There's nothing worse than having a piece of